With closing arguments in the Michael Jackson case scheduled to begin tomorrow, we're at what could arguably be the most important part of the trial. The attorney's opportunity to stand up in front of that jury, lay out the case. The closing arguments always leave a lasting impression on jurors. The last thing the 12 people deciding the fate of Michael Jackson will hear from both sides before they begin deliberations. That said, we decided to let two of our regular guests have a go at their versions of the closing arguments. First, MSNBC analyst and former Connecticut prosecutor Susan Filan for the prosecution.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard evidence in this case, and based on that evidence, you must convict Michael Jackson of all charges. You heard evidence that he sexually molested a 13-year-old cancer survivor. That boy came into this courtroom and testified before you that on more than one occasion, Michael Jackson stuck his hands down his pants and masturbated him. When he was a cancer-stricken boy in the hospital, he befriended Michael Jackson because he admired him so. Jackson eventually invited him to Neverland, where he let him sleep in his bed, plied him with alcohol, showed him pornography, all part of the grooming process to break down his inhibitions so that he could sexually molest him. On 2 occasions, the accuser's brother walked in on Jackson while he had his hands down his brother's pants. The accuser's sister testified before you that she saw Jackson take a liking to her brother to the point where she was excluded and the brother was excluded because Jackson wanted to be with the accuser himself. She saw Jackson give this boy and his brother alcohol on more than one occasion. Jackson admitted to the world in a documentary made by Martin Bashir that he likes to sleep in bed with little boys, and he sees nothing wrong with it. He tells you, ladies and gentlemen, in his own words, what he does and that it isn't sexual. But ask yourself, does that seem credible to you that 365 nights a year he has a little boy in bed with him and it's completely innocent? Does that fly in the face of logic? Ask yourself, does that make sense? Don't leave your common sense outside the door when you go into that deliberation room, ladies and gentlemen. It is one of the most important tools that you'll have in deciding this case. You've also heard that Jackson has sexually molested boys in the past. You heard from one boy himself who came in and told you pretty much an identical story to what happened in this case. And Jackson paid that boy money in an out-of-court settlement so that he wouldn't have to face charges. You also heard from the mother of the 93 accuser, who her son had the same experience as the accuser in this case, and she too settled out of court for many, many millions of dollars. This is a pattern of Michael Jackson's, inviting young boys to Neverland, giving them alcohol, showing them pornography, having them sleep in bed with him so that he can sexually molest them. Remember, you heard evidence that the fingerprints of the brother's accuser were on the same magazine as Michael Jackson's. Fingerprints, ladies and gentlemen, are a factual indication that the boy and Jackson visited that same adult magazine. Lastly, Jackson participated in a conspiracy to abduct, extort, and falsely imprison the accuser and the accuser's family. Why? In a response to the train wreck of the Bashir documentary, he had to get his destroyed career back on track, and he needed them to make a rebuttal video. And he falsely imprisoned them, abducted them, and extorted from them. And you heard 28 overt acts, ladies and gentlemen. For Jackson to be guilty of this, he doesn't have to be the puppet at the top of the conspiracy operating all the little strings. He has to be part of it. And who benefited from this conspiracy? Michael Jackson, so he could salvage his once very powerful musical career. The evidence you've heard in this case is uncontrovertible, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let him get away with it again.